Welcome back. I am on the road heading to a cranberry bog tour. This is about like an hour and 20 minutes out without using the highway. Decided to go the local road so I could see the changing of the colors of the trees. Oh my goodness, it is fall, y'all. It's so beautiful. I'm seeing a lot more green. Maybe it's a little early, but when it's like more colors than green, it is wonderful. Y'all know. Well, this tour is in Rochester, Massachusetts. My first time going there, in that area. The cost is $50, and it says rain or shine. It started raining this morning, and I was like, oh my goodness, I wonder if they're still gonna have it. Then when I read the information, I was like, yes. It says rain or shine. So I'm taking my $50 butt to this tour. It looks very interested online. Let's hope it doesn't disappoint either one of us. Stay tuned. I am at the Hartley, I think I'm pronouncing the name correctly, Hartley Family Farm in Rochester, Massachusetts. Getting ready to do this cranberry bog tour. Tour starts at 12:30. They said to be here by 12:15. Got here about 10 minutes ago. I'm about to go and use this porta potty. Everywhere I go, I just have to go pee. It's a big farm. Big farm. So far it's only 2 cars, but they do these tours at different time. I decided to choose 12:30. Give me enough time to get up and, you know, there's a little bit of running around before I get here. Now, use the bathroom and wait till it's time to go on this tour. Just showing a little bit of the area. See what it is. I think it goes all the way down there. I'm really hoping we get to go inside one. Put on one of those suits and go inside one. I think this is a little buggy that's taking us out there. It's a nice picture right there. I think it is. Oh yeah, here goes my porta potty. See a little stand here, don't know what it's about. Guess it's a check-in area. Man, didn't realize how cold it is until I actually get out the car. Oh my goodness, it is cold. I wonder if I have enough clothes on. Don't feel like it. Just left the check-in station. I was assigned a waiver. No problem. And then my name got checked off. Say I did pay for this time and this tour. And when it's time to go on the tour, a bell will be rang, so we know to come and line up. Okay? Bathroom time. Okay, we are loading up to get on this tour. I was told I was in first class. I'm in the front.
Yeah.
Good position.
Exactly.
We are anticipating 6 people coming down the hill, but we're going to start now. You've been kind enough to wait long enough, and they might miss a little bit, but we'll catch them up along the way. All right? I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about the history of this piece of property. and how and why we built cranberry bogs here, and a little bit of history about the cranberry in Massachusetts, or actually in North America. So this piece of property, as you look straight down towards the trees turning color, if you look on the left and the right, you'll see that there's a bank going up, and there's a lot of big tall white pine trees. This land was the same height all the way across. In 1995, covered with trees. All the way back here, as you see, we're kind of in a low spot, but this wasn't like this. We dug this out. My grandfather, on my mom's side, Jack Rhodes, and his wife, we call her Anna White, Anna Rhodes, bought this property in 1947. And it was 55 acres of land, and he built a home just on the other side of those trees. And my grandmother and grandfather, along with my mom, lived there. They bought it when she was just about to get married. That was their adult home. He worked at a dairy farm his whole life, and he never owned a home until he was much older in life. And they built the home there. And my mom was an only child, and that year that they built the house here, my mom and dad actually lived with them for a while, and my grandmother and grandfather gave my mom and dad a piece of land, and they built a house. And then my mom and dad had 3 children. I'm the oldest. And when I got married, this is my daughter Amy, and there are family members everywhere here, and I'll point them out when we see them. Here comes the other ones, they're not bad. So when my wife and I got married, after being married for a couple of years, I went to see my grandmother and grandfather to ask them if they would consider selling us a lot to build a house on. And when I did that, I knew they would not. I knew they would insist on giving it to me, but you know, I tried to approach it in a way that, and that happened. So we built our home, and it was that home, as you see up there, not the part on the left as you look up there, but the part on the right. And that's where we raised our family, Amy and her older brother Scott. And my brother acquired a piece of land, built a house here. And my son got a piece of land, and he built a house here.
Wow.
And Amy actually, when she got married, lived in Mattapoisett for quite a few years, and just recently came and now lives in the main house. And she and her family built an addition for us. That's our retirement home. And you can see the front door looks out on the bars. And then next door, my grandmother and grandfather's house is where my niece lives, and my sister lives in mom and dad's house, and the house next door is her house. So there's over 40 family members on this property. And when my mom and dad were about to retire, my brother and I realized that they'd worked hard all their lives, blue-collar jobs, and they had Social Security, but they weren't going to be able to really, you know, travel or do any of the things we all hope we can do when we retire. And so, you know, they might decide to sell this land, because it's nice to build houses on and stuff. And so my brother, who's just leaving now, we made their work on. So we built these cranberry bogs here. Wow. We'll talk a little bit about, we'll talk more about that, but let me talk about cranberries themselves. Cranberries are one of the very few fruits that are native to North America. The Indians here, the Wampanoag Indians here, had a word for cranberries, Amy. And that word was Sasum Niash. And it means sour berry. Nothing has changed. It's still a sour berry. But it has a lot of uses. They used it as a food additive. They mixed it with venison, and it helped preserve the venison. And they used it for dye, and they used it for medicine. When the Europeans came to North America and started landing, they saw this fruit growing in the lowlands, in the sand, especially on Cape Cod is where they saw it. And this is what one flower, one stem, here's the stem of a cranberry looks like. The stem grows along, and there's many shoots coming off of it. And when they looked at this, when the Europeans looked at this, they wanted to give it a name too, because that Wampanoag name is, I got it written down. They thought that this looked like the neck and the head and the beak of a crane. So the original name for this was cranberry. And it was called cranberry for a long time, and somewhere along the line, they dropped one letter and called it cranberry. Cranberries come in many varieties. We have 3 different varieties on these bogs.
Ooh.
This variety on this bog was just renovated. This bog we planted in 2004, but we renovated with a new variety that was just developed at Rutgers University. It's a higher yielding variety, so we'll get more cranberries off this bog now. We have 8 bogs, every 2 are a pair. This pair is planted at the same elevation, was planted at the same time. We harvested it on September 25th. It's an early variety. It was ripe earlier than the others, and the berries have gone already. The next 2 are Native American varieties from the Cape called Hows, H-O-W-E-S. We don't wet pick those, and we'll talk about the difference between wet and dry picking soon. And then the last 4 bogs are called Stevens variety. That's a variety also developed at Rutgers back in the 80s, and that variety is specifically used for sweet dried cranberries, also called by Ocean Spray craisins. I'm only going to use that word once because that's a copyrighted word, and I have to give them 50 cents.
Oh my God.
So I will always call them sweet dried. Remember, wait a minute, oil, but oil's liquid. Cranberries are dry. I'm hoping this is, come on down. You're with us especially, huh? Come on down. Back in the day when ships were all powered by sail, it took a long time to go on voyages. And particularly when they would go whaling, people would go whaling, and they would leave New Bedford right next door, and they might go all the way to Alaska, and there was no Panama Canal. It took a year just to get where they were going to go whaling. And there was no refrigeration in those days. We'd have ice, but the ice would be melted by the time they were leaving. So there's no refrigeration. So your oranges and your bananas and any of the fruits that you might get, they were never here in the wintertime. If they left in the wintertime, but they wouldn't have anything. But cranberries, they stick around a long time. They have a good, what we call keeping quality. You can pick them, keep them in a cool, dry place, and for months and months and months, they're still usable. So the captain would call up and he'd say, I'm going to go on a whaling voyage. I'll be gone 2 years. I'm going to get 5 barrels of cranberries. The cranberry barrel's that high, that big around, at 100 pounds. So cranberries are measured. It might lurch a little bit. I'll try to be careful. Are you the folks that are late?
All right, park it out. We'll take
Park
care of it.
quickly.
No stress. Just go ahead. I'll catch up.
Okay, catch him up.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody can hear me pretty good, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Here we go, kids. Water is essential to cranberry bogs. They have to have enough water to grow, especially in that time when they're going from being a little tiny thing to a cranberry of about that size. They fill up quite quickly in about 4 to 6 weeks. So they need a lot of water. But at the same time, they don't grow in a swamp. And they're not only flooded to protect them from cold weather and to harvest them. So as you see, there's ditches around the bogs so that they can drain and get the water off the bog when it rains. And also, those ditches are about the same height, about 18 inches. We want the roots to go deep and go down and grab that water and suck it up. So the roots will go deep into the land. Farmer is this guy. They're covered with weeds. Yes, they are. Because we are just growing these vines new. And we're trying to cover this bed with vines. We don't want to walk out there. We don't want to pull weeds. We don't want to use herbicides. So starting next year, we'll be going out there and we'll be pulling these weeds out. We're working from one end to the other. We will start to use herbicides. And this is what a mature, well taken care of cranberry bog looks like. These bogs have not been picked. If you look down at the edge, you can look out there, you can see the berries. See the berries out there? There's about 6 inches of vine growing, and we call that 6 inches of vine the canopy. So the berries are actually growing in the canopy. These are almost ready to go, but not quite. Okay, stop number 1, and here we're going to learn about wet picking. 80% of all the cranberries grown in the United States and Canada are wet picked, which means we flood the bog. Anybody know the biggest cranberry producing state or province in the world?
Canada.
Wisconsin. Wisconsin. They started growing cranberries in Wisconsin in the late 70s, early 80s. And at that time, Massachusetts was number one. It didn't take about 8 or 10 years and Wisconsin became number one. And then at about the year, in about the late 90s or so, if you drive by cranberry bogs in Massachusetts, most of those cranberry bogs, I'm going to stop right here and get this crew on board. Hang on, folks, we're going to get our friends on board. Some of you in the back 2 rows have to get a little friendlier with each other. Going to get everybody on. 2s and 2s. Good. All right, very good. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. We're just starting to talk about harvesting cranberries. And there are 2 methods. And the method we're talking about right now is wet picking. 80% of the 10 million barrels or so that are harvested every year, 80% are wet picked. And to wet pick the cranberry bog, thank you to very much my daughter and son-in-law, Amy and Jesse. We try to keep only farmers in the family. Jesse comes from a fine family of dairy farmers up in New York State.
No, I'm not gonna turn.
We want to pick these cranberries. We will put 6 inches of water on top of them. So they will be covered right to the top of the canopy. Now, when you get 6 inches of water out there, the cranberries are still connected to the stem. So they're suspended in the water column somewhere, depending how long their stem is. But none of them are on the ground anymore. So now they're in the water column. Now we need to detach them from the stem because they're still hooked to the stem. And we don't want to damage them. You bang them, you got a bruise on the cranberry. You don't want that. So we have this machine over here that was developed in Wisconsin, and it's called a reel. If you look at it, it's not real heavy. It's got this thing in the front that is, in fact, the reel. 6 inches of water, so it's in the water up to here. This pot spins, and you see these bars go down into the water, and they go right under the cranberry, and they knock the stem off of it. Operator stands in the back of it and guides it along. Now, it didn't take them long to realize that it would be much better if it were bigger and if the operator sat on it. Today, 80% of the cranberries being harvested, that's the type of machine that's used. It's just twice as wide and the operator sits on it. So you may drive around today, tomorrow, and the next day and see these in the water picking cranberries. It's how we pick our cranberries. Now once they're in the water, I'm going to go back and forth here, okay? Stay with me. Once they're in the water, we have to gather them together to put them on a truck. 452 cranberry harvester and detrasher. They don't exist. There's no such thing. There are things like this all over Massachusetts and Wisconsin and Canada that were made by the cranberry growers themselves. The same is true about that device right there. Homemade. Some of them are fancier than others, but they're pretty much all homemade. And they all do the same thing. This arm swings out into the water and goes just below the surface of the water. And we start up this pump. It sucks the cranberries out of the water with water mixed together. It pushes them up the hose into the great big silver box there. Now once they get up at the top of the silver box, if you were standing on the bank and looking at the silver box, you'd see this. This is what you'd see. There's the berries floating at the top of the water being pushed up. And the berries go over the edge and they go down a bar rack. A bar rack is simply a bunch of fingers on an angle with spaces in between. The berries roll down the spaces, water sprays them, and it knocks off the branches, the leaves. It knocks the rotten berries through, the small berries through, the occasional frog and turtle. They get knocked through, and now all that is called trash. The trash comes out of this. Comes out of the bottom into this aluminum pipe, down into the trash box, which is basically a giant colander. There's a screen across here with holes in it. The water goes through, out the pipe, back onto the bog, and the trash goes to that end, up a conveyor for composting. The final product, you can see in both of these pictures, goes into the big trucks. When it gets high enough, somebody up here beeps a horn, the truck drives ahead, and they fill it up, fill it up, fill it up. Here are the people with a boom, a smaller boom on the inside, pulling the cranberries in front of this man who has the pipes in the water. This is a pusher. I think it's the only business in the world that uses this very device. My brother's holding one, and he's just slowly walking around trying to feed the pump at the same rate. So it's a nice, steady process. Takes, as you can see, 5 people to do it, plus 1 or 2 up here keeping an eye on things. This is where the 4, and I'm going to talk as you ride. We talk to you a little bit about how we grow the cranberries. 1, 2, 3, here we go. If you look at these 2 bogs to your left, you'll notice that one side is a little different color than the other side, and you'll notice a line down the middle. If you look right over the edge and look at the vines, you'll see they're all kind of leaning this way. They're leaning to the east. That's because we always pick the cranberries going in the same direction. We train the vines to lay that way. It's just like combing your hair. If you comb your hair the same way all the time, it's easy to comb your hair. If you comb it this way on Monday and that way on Tuesday and Thursday you ignore it, it gets tough and tangled and little girls cry when mommy tries to comb their hair. If you look right here at this cement block, there's a pipe underground here. And that's how we put the water on the bogs through that pipe. We're flooding this bog. This is where the berries are, where you'll get a chance to go in the waders. We picked this Friday of this week, last week. We picked this bog. It was covered with cranberries, as was the one next to it. We've kept this flooded. It's part of your experience to go out there and see it. This bog looks just like the others with a line down the middle, so the operator of the machinery knows not to go on the wrong side of the line. We put those flags out there because when it's flooded, he can't see the line anymore because it's covered with cranberries and water. This is picking height. This is a height when we're going to go pick them and knock them off, and then that's loading height. You can see it's about 1 foot higher. We're keeping all the water there and keeping that at the height so we keep everything the same. Remember, if you got anything you want to ask me about, please give us a shout. Now I'm going to slow down and I'm going to stop right here to tell you about growing cranberries, what a year of growing cranberries entails. When you're growing cranberries, it takes 16 months to grow a cranberry. If it takes 16 months, that means for 4 months there's actually 2 crops on the bog. There's a crop of berries for this year that are going to get ripe, and then there's the very, very bud beginning of next year's crop, which haven't even flowered yet. They're both out there at the same time. And that time, the berries are out there and their bud develops in August together. So you have to really think about what you're doing. You want to make sure you're taking care of everything. So some of the things we have to take care of are the pests that we have. We have to deal with the pests. And the pests include weeds, it includes diseases, and it includes insects. Those are all things that want to do bad things to our crop. The weeds want to use up the nitrogen that we'd like to see go into the cranberries. And they take up space. The diseases, they'll give the cranberries some kind of a fungus, and they won't grow as well, the leaves will fall off, and we won't get a good crop. But the one we really fear the most are the insects. There are hundreds of insects on the cranberry bogs all the time. So one of the things we try to do is to check on those. And we check on those by going out with a net, going across the top of the vines and looking at what's in the net. And we've all gone to training, so we know what kind of bugs to look for. And so we know that any of the bugs who happen to be wearing a poncho are the bugs that like to eat the blossoms of the cranberry. But all the other bugs, they're just out there doing other stuff. Back in the day when I first got involved in this in the 90s, if we found bugs that had ponchos that were eating the cranberries, we'd spray every bug on the trailer and we'd kill them all. Kill them all. But that was a waste of a chemical, and it was killing all the bugs, including the good ones. So we don't do that anymore. That's not how we do it. Now we go out and we look. Oh, look I found 5 of them that got ponchos on today. We got to get rid of those. So we'll use a chemical that's specially designed just to get rid of them. And sometimes it doesn't kill them. If they happen to be a worm, we have a special one we spray, which tells that worm not to molt. Now, as worms and caterpillars get bigger, they have to have a new skin. The skin doesn't grow, so they grow a new skin. This one chemical tells them don't grow a new skin. They try to get bigger and they implode. They don't have the new skin. And then there's other ones we use that tell them you're not going to grow wings, so you can't fly. So they can't fly. And then the other clever thing we've learned to do is don't always use the same chemical. Because in one summer, you might get 5 generations. What's a generation to us as people? It's 20 years. We call that a generation. They might have 5 generations in one summer. Every time there's a generation, there's a chance for a mutation, and they'll get used to the chemical you're using and it won't work anymore. So these are all the new things that we've done in the last 30 years to manage the pests. And we say, oh, we got a lot of flowers. We're going to need this amount of nitrogen. Or we don't have so many flowers, we'll need this amount. And we tell the people who are giving us fertilizer how much we want. Now we used to put it on with a little hand cranker like this, and that was exhausting. It'd make me old quick. It wasn't bad when we had 2 bogs or 4, but once we had 8, it took 3 or 4 days to do it, and it was exhausting. So this is how we put fertilizer on now. We put the bags of fertilizer on the bog, and the helicopter lands right out there in the dike, right in the middle, and we load the fertilizer into this big white pod. There's one on the other side. Now, the pilot has already gone to his GPS computer and he's put in the coordinates, or the longitude and latitude, for the corner of every one of our bogs. And he's put into it how much fertilizer we want on the bog. He takes off in the helicopter and he presses the autopilot, and then he just sits there. And the helicopter flies, and the machinery puts out the right amount of fertilizer on every bog. What took us 4 days takes 20 minutes. So it's really a lot better. Now next year, this is expensive though. That's a $7-8 million helicopter.
Oh, wow.
We have to rent it.
Wow.
Now we're going to go to a drone next year. A drone is $80,000 to $100,000. So it'll be a lot less expensive to put the fertilizer on the bogs in the future. Also, bees are not, we don't have enough bees here. When all of these are blooming, it's a sea of white flowers, and they're just, it's beautiful. But we need millions of bees, or at least we need 500,000 bees. It takes about 1 honeybee hive per acre to make sure we pollinate everything, so we get 12. So there are about 30,000 bees in a hive, and we get 12 hives. So there's about 360,000 bees that we bring in, we rent them. They're up in Maine, pollinating the blueberries. When that's done, the cranberries are looking for them, and they move them down here. And then they move on to somewhere else. How many queens are in a hive? One.
Yeah.
What happens when the second queen is born?
One died.
I love this part. No, this is not the Game of Thrones. We don't go cut her head off. We politely ask her to leave.
Oh, wow.
And she'll take some with her. That's called a swarm. You've seen pictures of the bees are swarming, or the wasps are swarming. A queen's been born, hallelujah. And we're moving on to a new place to have our hive. Now, if you look out on this bog right here to my left, you'll see a one black thing sticking up in the air. That's called a pop-up. That's our irrigation system. Every bog has about 33 of those in 3 straight rows all the way down. So there's about 400 of them out here, and they're all connected to pipes that go back to that building over there. And in that building is a great big Chevy engine, 350 horsepower. It starts up and it pressurizes the water, and those pop-ups pop up. That's how we put sprays out in the bog to fight diseases, to fight weeds, and to fight insects. It's also how we irrigate the bogs when it's really, really dry and there's not enough rain. It's also how we fight the very cold weather that we have, like a couple nights ago it was 28 degrees out here. Or in the springtime when it's very cold. If it's very cold, well below freezing, the vegetation and the cranberries can freeze. Now, they don't usually freeze at 32, it has to be much colder. But what we do to protect them is we start up the irrigation system. The water sprays into the air, it falls down on the cranberries, and it coats the cranberries, and it coats the vegetation with water, and the water freezes. It's a beautiful picture, it really is. It's all covered with ice. The water freezes, and it insulates everything underneath it. So if I sprayed you with water and insulate, you'd still stay warm because you're insulated. So that's how we make sure that we protect our bogs. We spray them with water, and the water freezes, and it insulates the cranberry. It works very well. Next morning, the sun comes up, it warms up, we shut it off, and the ice melts. All the water used here, this is all engineered, so that's the high end. All the water flows this way into our pond, and then we're able to reuse our water many times. We're going to stop here for a minute, and we're going to talk about what's going on. Have as many diseases, but we do it here. We have a little niche market that we've developed. We sell all of our fresh fruit privately. We don't sell it through a bigger company. The wet pick gets sold to a big company. And they make sweet dry cranberries out of it. We got some berries here I'm going to show you. This bog has Stevens on it. Stevens variety. Just pass it down, take a look at. This is the size of the Stevens cranberry. Last person on the end can keep it. Go up.
You need to pass it around. You cannot.
Stevens cranberry. That's how big they are. Okay? They are huge.
Hold on. Open your hand.
Now I'm going to pass out. These are the House variety of cranberry. Look at the difference. These are mature cranberries. Look at the difference.
Really small.
See the difference?
Oh, wow.
Much smaller. These are the dry, those are the wet, these are the dry fish.
Don't need it.
The big one, no, the little ones are the dry fish. Yeah. The little ones are native to Massachusetts. They were, they're dry pick. They've been here a long time. We have 2 bogs of those. The other 6 bogs are the bigger size that's used for wet pick. They make craisins out of them.
Hold me down.
Until about late 1960s or so, all cranberries were picked with this thing. Doesn't use any gas, doesn't make any noise. Feel the weight of it. This is not lightweight. This is a modern scoop. The scoop back in the day was about 30% bigger than this. Most of the cranberry scooping was done by women, and it was done by women because the men were working carrying off these boxes full of cranberries. They scoop them, put them in boxes, and leave them on the bog. Men would come out with wheelbarrows, grab them with the wheelbarrows, and haul them off. We still use this scoop to scoop our ditches. There's no machine that gets the berries on the ditches. So we go around, we stand in the ditch, and we scoop them up. And we take them up, and we screen them, and that's what's in the boxes up there. If you want to buy some cranberries, those are cranberries that we screen. So, when they got all the new bogs being built in Wisconsin, scooping wasn't going to work. So they invented this mechanical device. It was invented in Massachusetts called a Darlington. I've actually operated these when I was a kid in high school helping with a harvest. You put a cranberry box fits in the back. This is called the head, and it spins this way. And as this goes down, the fingers come out, and it combs through the vines, which remember are always laying the same way. It takes the cranberries in, up the elevator, drops it into the box. That was used for about 20 years, and then this was designed. You see that this looks a lot like the cranberry scoop. The fingers go underneath, way less moving parts. This would tend to stab the berries. They get tangled in the vines. A lot of breakdown time, a lot of moving parts. Much simpler. Still, the elevator would go down, pick it up, carry it up, and instead of putting it in a box that weighs 8 pounds, puts it in a bag that weighs about 1.5 pounds. The operator carries extra bags with him. When it gets full, he puts it on the bog and keeps right on going. So this bog would be covered with bags. People would walk out on the bag, out on the bog, pick up the bags, walk up, dump the bags in these bins. We'd load the bins on a trailer. That's how we started. This was the first year we dry picked our bogs here. This was about 10 years ago. We've since modified that ourselves. We now take that orange Kubota ATV over there with a little trailer behind it, and we put the bags right in the trailer. We drive on the bog just the way we would walk on it, the way the vines. We always get on empty there, go down and get off full down there, and on the other side we go down empty, and we get off full. So we're always driving the way the vines lace and just push them down to come up.
That looks like a turtle over there.
So that's dry picking.
Looks like a,
Can you talk about Ocean Spray's relationship with the growers?
Ocean Spray is a cooperative that's run by the growers. They have a board of directors that's made up of growers. I'm not a member of Ocean Spray. I'm what's called an independent grower. Ocean Spray represents about 80% of the cranberry business in the United States. I sell all of my wet kit to a different cooperative out of Canada, actually. I used to sell them in Manham. They got bought out by a company in Canada. And so I continue selling it to them. 2 of our bogs, we maintain complete control, and we sell them to farmers markets and other places right in southeastern Mass. These have been picked from the edge up to the green stripe. See the green stripe right there? We've been going around this and picking them a couple of times a week, and that's what we screen, and we have a screening machine, and that's what's for sale. Yes, the green mark out there is because yesterday we went on that spot, so it turned the leaves a little bit, and they haven't turned red yet. So in another few days that'll be red like this, and you can see I've even scooped the edge. There's no cranberries on the edge, because I scooped the edge next to it. The rest of this will water pick, and we're going to switch to picking our house next week. They'll be ripe enough to be picked.
The ones under the water, they've not been picked.
They've been picked.
They have been picked. All the ones under the water.
The schedule when they pick, you know, the factory that we go to can only take so many trucks a day, so we kind of work together to schedule things.
I remember the time of the day that they were picking. We are, but not the big.
Okay, we go 1, 2, 3. Hey, how about these 2 balls hanging in the air?
Yeah,
You
how
get an
about
idea
that?
what those are all about? Come on, you're getting a picture of them. You don't know what they're
Weather or something.
We call these scary eyes.
Oh,
Scary eyes.
okay.
When a flight of Canada geese comes through here,
Oh.
and they look at that pond, they say, hey, let's land here and spend the weekend eating weeds and doing that stuff that comes out the other end. It's very messy. We encourage them to keep on going. They think those are birds of prey, and they think Fred here is real too.
Oh my God, you don't look weird.
Yeah, we do have real coyotes here. We saw one on a tour last Saturday. But you see, there's no geese in the pond, which is a good sign.
So that's our turtle.
Geese don't really bother us, other than the fact that they poop everywhere. It's awful. Geese are a real problem for a lot of the high schools and athletic fields and stuff like that. So this pond is we built this pond. We built everything here ourselves. The bottom of this pond is equal to sea level. So if you're on the Cape and you look at the ocean, the top of the ocean is the same as the bottom of this pond.
Okay.
So how deep it is?
Right now we're about 20 feet above sea level. This aluminum thing you see on my left is called a flume. That's a dam. We have dams at different places here. When we want to flood the bog, we put planks in the dam, and then we start the pump, and it will flood the bog. This is the main pipe going out that feeds all the sprinklers on this bog. It's got a valve right there underneath that white thing to shut it off. Sometimes we only want to put water or chemicals on certain bogs, and we have complete control of that. All right, now we're coming up to the fun part. We're coming up to the waiter station. And when we get up here, you're gonna meet my daughter and my granddaughter and my son-in-law and Catherine, my niece, all part of the Hartley family farm operation. They have all been picking cranberries here since they were kids, including my daughter and my son, that worked their way through college, helping us dig all this dirt out. And then their children worked their way through college and high school, helping us harvest these cranberries, weed whacking in the summer. All of I have 8 grandchildren, and all of them learned to drive on the bogs. They all know how to drive this tractor, that ATV, and the pickup trucks. So they've all learned those skills here on the bog.
Having fun. Oh, we do have fun in here. Yes.
Now we do have a few rules here just to keep it organized and safe. And I'm going to pull up, and then Jesse and I will lower the ramp, walk down the ramp, and gather in a group, and you'll receive instructions on how to get your waders and how to proceed down into the cranberries. Now that you're here, you spend as much time as you need to here, have a good time, take pictures. And remember, it's not deep. If you fall in, stand up.
We are getting off to go in the water. Yes. Fun part of the tour. Done the education part, now we're doing the fun part.
Two set of directions. The first set of directions is going to be about getting your waders on, and the second part is about actually getting in with the berries. So first of all, my daughter Sadie and my cousin Kate are here, and my husband Jesse, and we're all here to help you have a wonderful time. So we're going to help you get on your waders, and then many of us will be in the berries with you, and we love taking photos and giving you ideas. So just come up to any of us and ask. So for the wader part, all of our waders are sized by men's sizes. So you're going to tell us your shoe size, and we're going to give you something around your shoe size. It's not important that it's perfect. As long as it's bigger than your feet, that's all that actually matters, okay? They strap up like overalls. Once in a while, some of them, one clip doesn't work, but it doesn't matter at all. We actually wear them like this a lot because it's just quicker in and out of them. So don't worry about that at all. When you come over, just sit down, get your waders from us, and then sit down first, take your shoes off. We've seen a lot of people try to put their waders on standing up, and it doesn't always end well. So I just suggest you sit, take your shoes off, step into the boots first, and then stand up and pull your waders on. As soon as they're on, you're ready to go in, and this is what we're going to ask you to do. The ramp can get a little slick, so just make sure you hold both handles like Sadie is. When you get to the edge of the berries there, we just ask that you step over the berries and not crush them on that little edge there. Once you get in, you are walking on the cranberry bog, so there's lots of vines and they're interweaved. So just walk with your feet, pull your feet up, don't drag your feet because you will definitely get a snag and trip a little bit. But once you're in there, it's just about having fun and experiencing it. Remember that the boom is floating wood, so you can't push on that at all. But we definitely encourage you to pick up the berries, take a look at them, inspect them. Throwing them is awesome for photos. We definitely suggest you get down on your knees because it's just a completely different experience getting down on your knees. You just get, and then for the photos, it just looks like you're super deep in the water, which is just a cooler photo. Definitely put your phone on slow-mo and do the throwing the cranberries up. Think Christmas card photos. We suggest berry Christmas. Come on over. Let's get you in waders.
Getting ready to get waders on. Yes. And after that, we're gonna go into this thing right here.
Kids size 6, kids size 4, and women's 7.
All right. Girls, we need a women's 7, and then what do we have?
I'm over
Understand?
All right, good. Not railing.
Okay, let's see. I have to follow instruction. There we go. Gotta get my shoes off. Put this down. Okay, perfectly.
All right, go get them.
Excellent.
If you guys want to take a pusher, by all means, go right ahead. Yeah, oh yeah.
I think I need to lose some weight.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You got a one strapper, so you're just gonna put one
Okay.
right here, and then you're good to go. The suit's better when they're snapping.
One strapper for me. Okay, getting ready to walk in here. It says to hold on to the railing and try not to crush the berries. Michael, try not to crush the berries. There we go. Look at that. Oh, some reason I feel like I'm gonna get wet. There we go.
You lost two of them.
Whoa. Big steps. Big steps. This fun. Big steps.
I totally get that.
I'm still scared to put this thing in the water.
Want me to get down from my knee?
I am feeling in the water. Oh my gosh, water feel cold. Let's get in. I am here. Slow motion, no slow motion. Playing with berries.
Oh, that's feeling nice.
Amelia, look at Daddy.
You got some water in the boots? No, just the top.
Hey, hold on. Grab another thing and now drop it in slow mo.
Get up. Give me a little while there. Good.
If you all want pictures together, let us know. We'll get one for you. That's exactly right. Oh, you should take a video.
Put the front one.
You having a good time?
Oh, get balls.
Do you want to prop? You need some.
Still in the water. Yes, still in the water. Let's see what else I could do. Okay, I am feeling a bit tight in this thing. Okay, but it fit. I definitely can't wear tight clothes. Definitely not. Whew. It is. Okay. Ready to go.
The hike was really nice. It's Mount Willett. I've never done that. It's like 3 to 4 hours, and you go like 1,000 feet up. It's mostly just up, but it's got a really nice overlook. Oh, that's great. So it was definitely a good. Yeah, you got some
My tights off. My butt.
I like it. Going back in?
Okay, they say just don't try to take this off while standing up, so I am going to go sit down.
Come pull some more off. Pull it right off. Oh, that works better than a Good job. What'd you think?
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Excellent job. This one has been picked, yes. Yeah, so along the edge, even with like try to go to the shore too, it's also very hard to bang.
That is the end of the tour. Worth that $50. Had a lot of information about Cranberry, a lot of history, and going in that water just playing like a little kid. Yes, worth it. Now heading back to the parking area. I think they said there's a gift store there. Oh, that little tent that was set up outside there, that's the gift store. I may just buy me a t-shirt. Who knows? I'll see how I feel when I get there. I was walking by, so I happened to see this little black thing sticking up. I like, okay, that looked like a turtle head. Sure enough, it was, but as soon as I get over here, it snapped its head back in. Don't think it's gonna push it back out. It's hiding somewhere in there. He's at it again, another tour going on. Seems like they stay busy, and I can see why. Because this is a good tour. I would recommend it. I would, yes I would. wish we had stopped by the pond to see if we see any wildlife. I could have sworn I saw a turtle over there, and the father-in-law said yes, there are snapping turtles in the pond. That could be part of the tour, but maybe because it's just for an hour, don't have enough time, and everybody wants to experience going in the water with the cranberry. But that would be an awesome tour, and whoever wants to walk from the pond down to the area where the cranberries are in the water, give them that option. But yes, I would have loved to go by and walk around the pond. For the first time yesterday, I heard about craising. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, craising. And now here I come and hear the word again today. But this time it's covered with chocolate, so this is supposed to be chocolate covered craising. When I asked what's craising yesterday, they say it's pretty much cranberry and raisin. And they come up with the word craising. Okay. Got me some for the road and off this tour and this video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And till the next, I hope you enjoyed it. So until the next adventure, be blessed. I do hope y'all enjoy it. Until the next adventure, be blessed.